Welcome back to the NutriSafe podcast. Thank you guys for tuning into last week's episode. A little bit of technical difficulties there at the end. Um, we don't know what happened. Joey kind of disappeared from the recording while he was still in the studio, and it was still recording, and we were still having a conversation going on there at the end. Um, I guess for you guys, it looks like I was just talking to myself. I'm sure you guys can see where he obviously would have been talking. Um, But yeah, we apologize for that. We honestly we don't know what happened. We were sitting there looking at the recording like in fact when I did the editing and whatnot, I didn't catch it there at the end. So oh well, it is what it is. I don't know. How, one word to describe the college football slate this weekend. Go.
Separation. I think some of these SEC teams are going to separate themselves. I think USC might separate themselves. Yeah, I think there might be some separation this weekend.
When we were on the phone the other day, we were talking about upset alert and what teams we thought were going to be kind of threatened looking into this weekend. And we really came to the conclusion that it just, when you look at some of the spreads for this weekend, I mean, there was maybe 2 or 3 games within the top 25 where it was not at least a touchdown spread. And that, I don't even know how to phrase it. The word that kind of popped into my mind at first was mid. Outside of 2 or 3 games this weekend, I think it's going to be a lot of blowouts. I think a lot of teams are going to ultimately end up covering. There's not going to be a lot of fun, close action, um, especially with my South Carolina Gamecocks. I am ready for my hopes and dreams of a postseason to be utterly crushed this weekend at Kyle Field. Um, but yeah, so that was my thought. But you want to jump in?
Yeah, first one, Notre Dame Pitt. 12 Eastern, game day is going to be there. A lot of Notre Dame fans are going to be there. A lot of Pitt fans are going to be there. Everyone's going to be there. And surely, the head coach of a FBS football team thinks this is a must-win game. You would think that, right?
Especially for a team that is contending for a ACC championship or
Well,
a possible at-large bid, although that is extremely unlikely.
Pat Narduzzi had to say this when asked if the Notre Dame game was a win game. Quote, absolutely not. It's not an ACC game. Glad you brought that up. I'd gladly get beat 103 or 110 to 10 in that game. They can put 100 up on us as long as we win the next two. Again, our focus is on Notre Dame and getting as many wins as we can. I know Narduzzi's been there for a very long time. He's been, I think, 2017, I think, something like that. And
Sounds
and I know he's got his culture set in, but to say this is terrible. This is the biggest game for Pitt in I feel like a very long time, other than the yearly backyard brawl. But take that out of the equation. This is the first time Pitt has been relevant for a playoff spot. And you have your head coach coming out and saying, well, this game doesn't really matter. Like, it's not a must-win game. We're just gonna play the game anyway. Hope we'll beat them. And so you look at that, and you look at that as a player, and it's like, what if you're down like, I don't know, 17-7 at halftime? You're like, well, we tried. Maybe had a couple of deflections that turned into turnovers on the Notre Dame side. Like, you were close. If a couple plays had went your way, maybe it'd be a tie game. But I just think this is terrible for the culture. especially when you're going into this game as 10.5 point underdogs. I feel like every game must be a win game because Pitt's 7-2 right now. There is a chance, even if you don't make the ACC championship, that you make an at-large. If you beat Notre Dame, you play Georgia Tech, you play Miami. Like, you have 3 huge games, and arguably you'd have the best resume in the ACC. Their only losses, I believe, are to Louisville and West Virginia, which take the
Yes,
West Virginia loss.
both were
Go ahead.
one score games.
Take West Virginia out of it. It's a rivalry game. It was at West Virginia. The home teams won that game a lot. And after the Louisville game, you started Mason Heinschel. Started 2-2. You started Mason Heinschel over Eli Holstein. And Pitt's 5-0 with him. Kid's airing it out. He's got 300 yards in 4 of his 5 starts this year. He has turned the ball over a little bit. 5 interceptions, 2 fumbles. And so I just think this is back to the Narduzzi quote, I think it's terrible for culture. And so Notre Dame's gettable. I mean, we saw Miami and Texas A&M do it earlier this year. Now, Notre Dame's been playing a lot better ball since then. But true freshman quarterback who's been airing it out. It's not normal Pitt football where you think it's run the ball, stop the run. They're airing it out. They're scoring 30-plus points a game. I thought they had a chance in this game until I see Narduzzi come out and say that this game essentially does not matter.
When you have a head coach making comments like these, you have to wonder if he's going to say these, what's the whole point of playing an out of conference schedule? Yeah, none of those games are ACC games. Ultimately, they don't matter for an auto bid. So why even schedule? I mean, you're running the risk of your players getting hurt.
It's why even start the starters? You can start the twos, and even then, there is a scenario where say Notre Dame blows him out 110-10, or even 110-0. Are you gonna put that team in the
No,
last 3 weeks of the season? Are you gonna put that team in even if they win say they do win the ACC championship? There's a chance. There's a chance. Say they win the next 3 games really close. There's a chance that you get left out if the committee views JMU and USF having a better resume. You can get in as an at-large at 10-2. You might be able to get in at 10-3 if Georgia Tech. Yeah, well, you'd have to beat Georgia Tech. But if you run the table, and lose in the ACC championship, there's still a chance you get in. If you don't lose this game, I just don't understand the logic, and maybe it's gamesmanship, and maybe Narduzzi's trying to let Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman get a little too comfortable. But I don't see that with Marcus Freeman. They had the 2 losses. They're 2 of the best. They have the best 2 losses in the country, I would say, of the 2 lost teams. But I think I thought that was terrible. So they're gonna play the game anyway. Now to the stats and on the field. Notre Dame forces a lot of mistakes. They're ranked number 12 in turnovers. Pitt has turned the ball over quite a bit. And so Notre Dame will be gettable through the air. Pitt offense is top 15 in passing yards. Heinschel, like I said earlier, is over 300 yards on 4 of 5 starts. Notre Dame defense is ranked 98th in the country. So you're gonna have to get them through the air. Pitt hasn't had a lot of a run game this year. Notre Dame's had a pretty stellar run game. They're in the 20s. Or I think they might be higher than that. My apologies. But I think the way you're going to get Notre Dame is going to be through the air in this game. I think this game will hinge on Notre Dame forcing Heinschel into mistakes. And just I feel like if you simulate this game in your head 100 times, you could see Notre Dame just blowing them out of the water. I think we'll have a repeat of Texas Tech and BYU of last week. Super hype up team, has a chance to do some great things, but hasn't played the strongest competition, and then just lays an egg when the spotlight's on them. I'm afraid that's going to be Pitt. Your thoughts?
Um, I think it's going to be if Pitt really comes in and cares, and they can put their head coach's comments behind them, which ultimately I think will happen. I think they'll come out and show a little bit of fight. I think you'll see something similar to what we got with the Boston College game a couple weekends ago when Notre Dame traveled to Boston. Um, Somewhat close in the beginning, very back and forth, tit for tat, explosive play after explosive play. But ultimately, I don't know how long the Pitt defense is going to be able to contain Jeremiah Love. That's something where it's like they're going to have to bend, not break. Because I feel like the second he's going to break, and ultimately it's going to happen. How are they going to respond to Love breaking off a 50 or 60-yard run when they had the Notre Dame offense pinned within the 5-yard line? So I
Well,
think the biggest thing for them is going to be how do they respond to these big plays from a Notre Dame offense that has an ability to just get out and just explode down the field.
and you have a Pitt defense ranked top 5 in rush yards. They've only given up one 100-yard rusher, but how good is that run defense really? Are they going to be able to scale up to their competition? And I don't know if they will. No one. Notre Dame's got one of the best rush offenses in the country. They're top 30. So I just I can see, and they've got a two-headed monster. It's not like it's Jeremiah Love and then it just drops off. They have Jadarian Price, who's a number one running back on probably 85-90% of the teams in college football. So, and the Pitt defense is a little bit weaker when it comes to pass yardage. So, or are you going to have a really good game from CJ Carr? I think this is a game where CJ Carr could go off. Can those receivers get open against a little bit of a weaker Pitt secondary? I think there's a really real chance of this game just you can look up in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter, and you can see this game being 35-10. I really think that. And it's really hinges on if Notre Dame can force Mason Heinschel to make mistakes. He's turned the ball over a couple times this year. True freshman quarterback under the bright lights. I know it's a noon kick, but you got game day there. You got everybody there. Will Mason Heinschel be able to keep the mistakes minimal against the Notre Dame defense?
That'll be ultimately the question I think that will decide the game. Real quick before we move on, I've seen a couple of things start to pop up on social media about this. Do you think Heinschel will be the starting quarterback for Pitt at the start of next season? Or do you think that with other teams seeing how he's played for Pitt over these last 5 games, that you'll get one of these teams that will either they'll be kind of higher up in the Power Four kind of structure, or one of these top Power Four teams that's going to end up losing a quarterback at the draft, go out and shell out a decent amount of money for who will then be a sophomore quarterback who has played fairly well and at the end of the season will be somewhat battle hardened.
I think a lot of it hinges on this game. I like the little bit I've watched of Mason Heinschel. I had to watch a little bit to get caught up to know who Pitt is, but I mean Miami's going to be in the market for a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if Miami shells out a good bit of money, but I it makes me question the culture of Pat Narduzzi when he said something like that, but these are all Narduzzi's guys. It's not like a second year head coach. These are all guys Narduzzi recruited. So he's obviously there for a reason. If say Pitt ends up going to the playoffs this year, do you really think he leaves? I don't know. I also don't know how Pitt's roster is constructed and how many players they're going to lose this year. I think this is a conversation for January, to be honest. And one last thing on this game is I think Notre Dame's really going to come out firing. This is the last real data point on Notre Dame's resume. Hold on. This is the last real data point on Notre Dame's resume. They play Stanford and I think another like 3-6 team or something like that. So this is the last real data point on Notre Dame's resume. And this is the last chance they have to impress the committee. And in which point their resume can't really help them anymore. So this is the last real point where you have a chance to go impress the committee, say something crazy happens where Texas and Oklahoma and Vandy all deserve to be put above you. Something to that effect happens. But I think this is a real motivator. I think Marcus Freeman's a good enough coach to not let the noise of what Narduzzi said or whatever other noise get in the way of Notre Dame's hopes, given Marcus made it all the way to the championship last year and had Notre Dame playing their best football at the end of the year.
All right, moving on to T-Town down in Alabama. Oklahoma coming into town. How do you think Mateer is going to respond? Obviously, he hasn't played to the same level he had before the hand injury, going into arguably one of the most hostile environments in college football and playing one of the best defenses in college football.
So, pre-hand injury Mateer, I would say this game is very scary for Alabama. But haven't really seen a tremendous game from Mateer since before the injury. He hasn't passed for over 250 since the injury. Bama's got in the teens pass defense. So I think they're going to need to lean heavy on the run game. Alabama's been gashed quite a few times for big runs, and I think that's where you see their numbers get a little skewed. I don't think they're giving up. I haven't watched them give up a lot per carry, but they've been gashed for 40-yard runs and 30-yard runs and a 25-yard run. And Oklahoma's run offense has gotten better in the last couple of weeks. They've had a 100-yard rusher in their last 3 games. So I think Oklahoma's going to have to lean on the run, and you need a great superhuman performance from John Mateer. Now, let me ask you for the LSU game, for Bama. Is it just me, or did that game feel like it was 40-9 the entire game? Like, it was a close game, but I never felt Alabama had a chance of losing that game. That game felt like a 3-score game the entire game. Even from the first kickoff, I never really had the thought that Bama was going to lose this game. It just felt so tilted.
I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna think that this might be how it's gonna feel watching LSU football for probably the remainder of the season. I think that loss kind of fully pulls the air out of the balloon. I mean, whatever they had going into that game, I mean, the wheels have completely come off. With Kelly gone, I think that team is just fully deflated. I don't think they have anything left in them. I think you're going to see them go. I don't know who the rest of their schedule is. Hold on, pull that up real quick.
They play one of the bottom teams in the SEC. But I think LSU had an inspired effort, but watching that game, I thought that Simpson just missed a couple of passes by like maybe a couple inches, maybe a foot. I feel like in a game where the focus is going to be on precision in the pass game, I think that I think that Bama is going to be able to pull away. Bama has a top 15 pass offense. Oklahoma has a pass defense in the top 25, but the only two passing attacks that are compared to Alabama's were Ole Miss's and Tennessee's. They both passed for over 315. I think Tennessee passed for, I think it was exactly 315. I think Ole Miss passed for 395, something like that. So, and I've seen a lot of people say that this game is going to hinge on Oklahoma's strength versus Bama's weakness, which is Oklahoma's run defense, Bama's run offense. Bama's operated so well without a good run offense. They have a run offense in the 120s. Oklahoma's run defense is in the top 5. I don't think that's going to hinge on this game at all. I think Oklahoma's secondary might be a little bit weaker than everyone thought, especially before they played Ole Miss, because they got lit up in the pass game. And I think turnovers are going to be a big part in this game. I think Bama's really good at taking the ball away. And Oklahoma, Mateer has turned the ball over a lot more since returning from injury. Oklahoma also takes a lot of penalties. Bama's really good in the red zone defensively. I think all those things could mesh up. I think the only problem you're going to run into if you're Alabama is if Oklahoma can stop the run with 4. Then I think it becomes a problem because you're going to have to be able to drop 7, which most teams typically need at least 5 to stop the run consistently. I think if Oklahoma is able to do it with 4 and able to just have everyone bail and drop out, I think that's the only time where you're going to be able to force Ty Simpson into mistakes. Ty Simpson hasn't made a lot of mistakes. But if you can force Ty Simpson into a disaster game, which he hasn't had yet, I think that is Oklahoma. And John Mateer, superhuman game, I think that is the only path for Oklahoma to win this game.
If Oklahoma comes in and they lose, do you think that they still have a shot at the playoff? Like, is this a win or go home situation? Like, is the rest of their season kind of hinging on do or die at this point?
They would have to obviously win out, and then they need Texas to lose to Georgia and Texas A&M, and then they need Vandy lose Tennessee, or Vandy to drop a game. Because Texas is always going to be ranked above them. A 3-loss Texas gets in before a 3-loss Oklahoma. So I think Oklahoma would obviously have to win out, which I don't know who they play at their last 2 games are. I don't think it's anyone crazy, but
Their last game is LSU.
yeah, I don't think they play anyone crazy. I think it's Auburn next week or something like that. But no, I think Oklahoma's pretty much out. They need a lot to happen in their favor. But I think the only 3-loss team you see get in is Texas. Also,
They
another
play
nugget:
Missouri. They play Missouri next weekend.
Missouri's not the same team. So Oklahoma's going to be favored by at least 10 in that game. Maybe not. But Oklahoma is also 3-0 in road games, and historically, in Brent Venables' tenure, Oklahoma's been, I think it was like 10 and 12, 10 and 11 in road games, but they're 3-0 in true road games this year, not counting the Red River shootout, but just another little nugget. What your pick for the game and the Notre Dame game? You didn't pick.
I mean, I kind of picked saying that I thought it was going to be similar to the Boston College game. Um, Ultimately, I think Notre Dame's coming out on top by 14 on Pitt. I don't know if Pitt's defense is going to be able to bend and not break. I think that the wheels are gonna come off once Jeremiah Love inevitably breaks off a big run, and it's just gonna spiral out of control from there. For the Alabama game, give me Alabama 31, Oklahoma 21.
I could see it. I could see it.
I think the environment is going to play a major factor. I think Mateer is probably going to have two picks and a fumble. But I guess on the flip side, I think Ty Simpson's going to throw his second interception this year, third interception this year. Um, so I think there will be plenty of turnovers, but ultimately Bama's going to get the job done. I think they're probably one of the best. Actually, well, obviously they're one of the best teams, but they're one of the most experienced teams, I guess, through this point in the season. They've been through a lot of uncomfortable situations. We saw them get out of a major scare here at South Carolina, and then they dealt with everything except for that Florida State game at the start of the year. So I have a lot
Bama,
of
go ahead.
I'd say I've got a lot of confidence in Alabama to be able to get through these high pressure games at the end of the season.
Bama's also won their last 17 home games. And on the turnovers, Oklahoma's in the 120s in turnover margin, I believe.
And Bama's up
So,
there like top 5 or 6, I believe. Um, On to the Big 18. Iowa traveling to USC.
yes. So, in beautiful
Just
Southern California, where I live,
just to get the same weather they had last weekend against Oregon.
I was about to say,
Just a little bit warmer though.
instead of, you'd think in beautiful Southern California, where I am not living right now, but I normally live, beautiful Southern California, you would think, nah, it's not going to rain. It never rains there. It's always like sunny in the 70s. Not this weekend. There's moderate to heavy rain expected literally all day from like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm also in Arizona where it is projected to rain literally all day. So this game for Iowa USC is going to be good on good. Iowa's defense, USC's offense, and then improved on improved. Iowa's offense on USC's defense. I don't think Maeva needs to have a superhuman performance. Maeva did not play good against Nebraska and they still won that game. We can say that USC only won that game because Raiola got hurt. That's an arguable point, but nevertheless, they won the game and they're 8-2. Not 8-2. So USC is not in the teens running the ball. They've been a much more physical team. It's not your standard Lincoln Riley and Oklahoma or USC teams. USC's been able to run the ball this year. They ran for over 200 on Iowa. On the Wolverines, I believe they ran for over 250. Iowa's defense is 56 in the run game. They gave up 260 to Oregon last week in their home field. For the Iowa perspective, they need another game like the Oregon game. Meaning the rain, the low score, the weird score. How did we get to 16 to 15 in the final 2 minutes? And I forgot where I was going with that. But Iowa needs to bring that style on the road with them. Sorry. Iowa needs to bring that style on the road with them. They need another game like that. They need to force it into an ugly game. They need maybe Gronowski to make a little bit of a couple more throws, maybe a throw or two more. They need to break 1 or 2 more runs for an extra 5 yards. Just stuff like that. And I forget who their defensive coordinator is, but he needs to not blitz on every play on the final drive and not give Dante Moore corners on islands. Or not Dante Moore. Yeah, Dante Moore. Sorry. So USC's passing offense is top 10. His passing defense is top 10. So that's going to be good on good. I don't know if USC is going to get too much there. I think Iowa just needs to take the game they took with Oregon on the road. I think Kirk Ferentz runs a really good program, so I think Iowa's culture is going to be really good. But this is a very good culture test for Lincoln Riley. And especially with all the rumors about him leaving USC this summer and whatnot, or I guess this winter, all the him leaving talk, I think it'll be very important and a very good culture test for USC. And they just need to bring the game plan they brought against the Wolverines against Iowa. I think that'll be a relatively better thing to do. They've been able to run the ball. They don't need Iowa to have a crazy game, maybe a little bit better game than Nebraska, because I think Iowa's a little bit better than Nebraska this year. So I will take USC in this game. I don't know if they cover. Gun to my head, I'll take USC to cover. I think this is a vastly different USC team than the previous USC teams, where if the wind blows 5 miles an hour, they're going to be completely off their game.
I'm trying to find what this. I'm pretty sure this is one of the 6.5 point games.
It was the last time
Yes,
I
USC
checked this
seven and a
morning.
half.
Okay, it went up.
It's bumped up to 7.5, but I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna take USC. I don't think they cover though. I think it's gonna be another low-scoring game similar to last weekend. I think the biggest question is if you're Iowa and you just came off a heartbreaking loss to a top 10 team, a potential to I don't know how I want to phrase it. I mean, it was definitely a field storming opportunity, but it was one of those where it's like it's a signature win on your season. It's one of those where 15 years down the line, when your helmet's hung up and you're all said and done, you get to look back and remember that time that you beat one of the top teams in the country, pretty much a lock for the playoff. And like, how do you handle that? Like that thought that's going to be in the back of your head, like, oh, we blew that. What's stopping us from blowing this game? So
Especially being
I think,
away from home.
yeah, and another crappy weather game. Run defense has got to get stuff figured out. I think if they give up 260 to USC this weekend, I think USC will end up covering. We've seen Iowa's offense produce significantly more than what they have for the last 20 years. I mean, it's unbelievable the level of offense they're putting out relative to what we've seen. And so, I mean, what's 49.5? Right now, I think the under is looking good. I wouldn't be surprised if the over hits, though. So,
Well,
give
Gronowski,
me USC 24, Iowa 21.
I don't think that's crazy. I think Gronowski's made a lot of plays this year. And think about it this way: if USC wins this game, it's a Super Bowl in Eugene next weekend. USC's fighting for the playoffs lives, because if USC wins out, it's going to be hard to not put them in. So
There's a lot of, and this is going to keep going.
Go ahead.
There are a couple of insane scenarios where we could have 10 two-loss teams 12 two-loss teams sitting there, and inevitably, don't start laughing, but inevitably 6 to 8 of them are going to get left out.
Yeah, I mean, I think next week we'll do a playoff scenario, because I think the playoff scenario is going to clear up a lot more after this weekend. But that made me lose my train of thought. But give me USC. No, that. Yeah, I lost my train of thought of the game. Let's move on to the next one.
Texas, Georgia. Texas' second year in the SEC, and this is the third time they're playing the Dogs. You want to hear a fun fact? I think the A&M has been in the SEC for 16 years, I think is what the number was. Guess how many times they played Georgia?
Once. I've seen the stat too.
Once. And Texas has done it 3 times in their second year, which I think is insane.
Yeah, I
It just
mean,
it blows my mind.
you know what happened the 2 times Texas played Georgia last year? Guess how many rushing yards Texas had combined in those games? I think it was like 60 or something.
For
So
both,
Texas is, I believe so. I saw this stat the other day. Hold on, talk about the game.
Arch Manning. Arguably, you could very well make a point that he is significantly improved throughout the course of the season. And to, I guess, Joey's happiness, um, they're the only team I think that's really challenged Ohio State this year, and he sucked then. I think one of the big keys for him this weekend, another major hostile environment he's going to play in after playing in the shoe earlier this year. How is he going to respond to the noise? How is he going to respond to, I guess, playing? Do you know? I don't know if you have this. Very mid-ranked pass defense. I mean, we saw the Ole Miss Georgia game go into a shootout. Do you think that this game has shootout potential?
So it was 50. It was about 60 yards each game. I was wrong, but either way, they only ran for 60 yards each time. Anyway, back to Arch. Arch has been much better. If this was the Arch Manning everyone was expecting at the beginning of the year, could end up being an elite quarterback matchup. No one's talking about Gunnar Stockton for Heisman. He's not flashy. He's not pretty. He plays really well within the offense. You're both of these pass offenses are gonna. There's some stuff that they can get on these two pass defenses. Georgia has a pass defense outside the top 50. Excuse me. Texas has a pass defense in the 80s. If you're gonna get it on Texas, it's gonna be through the air. The only problem with that is Georgia does not get to the quarterback very well at all. Texas does. Texas gets to the quarterback very well. They have a very high sack rate. I think their sack rate's like 6%, something like that. Maybe, yeah, 6%, something like that. But Texas has a very high sack rate. They cause the quarterback to get in a lot of pressure. But this will be the best defense Arch Manning has played since the Ohio State game. And he looked very confused, pedestrian. I think the offensive line has looked better for Texas. But Texas has not been a good road team this year. They had 2 losses to Ohio State and 2 Florida, and then 2 wins, close wins against bad teams, which were Florida and Mississippi State. So
They
It
lost to
will.
Florida.
It was Florida, Mississippi State, and maybe Arkansas. I think one of the two. It was Ohio State and Florida they lost to, and then Mississippi State and Arkansas. My apologies.
I think it
But
was Kentucky. They haven't played Arkansas yet.
oh yeah, it was Kentucky. You're right. You're right.
16-13 in Kroger Field.
But it'll be a very. This is by far the two best defenses these two teams have played all year. Other than Texas playing Ohio State, we'll wipe that to the side. That was very early in the year. Georgia has a lot better running offense this year, whereas Texas is really good at. They're good at run defense, and I think a big key in this game will be how much separation, how much separation can these wide receivers get? I think it's going to be really about the quarterbacks and the pass catchers in this game. I saw a stat, I forget who it was from, but Stockton and Manning are both top two in the SEC in pass attempts behind the line of scrimmage, meaning that they get the ball out behind the line of scrimmage and they let these athletes make big plays. So I have a hard time seeing Texas. And one more thing. Which coaching staff do you trust more in this spot? Georgia, who's
Kirby.
nearly impossible to beat at home, or Sark, who has not been very good on the road this year?
Kirby.
And it's a great luxury to have. You haven't earned the right for me to choose you over Kirby. So I have a hard time seeing Texas come in this game and keep it close. I think it's going to come down to Gunnar Stockton clutching up, and every time they've needed Gunnar Stockton, he's done it for them. So I will take Georgia. I'll take Georgia with the points. I think Georgia ends up winning this by at least a touchdown.
I like the over. I think this is going to turn into something of what we saw with the Georgia and Ole Miss game, where it's just chucking the ball down the field.
My only counter to that is I don't think Georgia's going to be able to run the ball as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm thinking they're just going to throw it all over the place. You're going to see both quarterbacks throw for like 350.
Let me check what Georgia ran against Ole Miss. Leading rusher had 72 rush yards, and Nate Frazier. So,
And they had 510 total yards.
Georgia had 221 rushing yards. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near that against Texas. I think the biggest question I have is this Texas front going to put Gunnar Stockton in positions where he's going to make mistakes? And he's rose to the challenge very, very well. And like I said, Texas is top 10 in sack rate. So I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. And I trust Gunnar Stockton right now more than I do to Arch Manning.
Do you have a score prediction? I know you said dogs by at least 7.
We'll do 38-30. Do 35-27. I like that better.
I'm gonna give 35-31 Georgia.
I've seen a lot of people think that Texas is going to keep this really close. I just think Gunnar Stockton's going to make more plays because I thought Ole Miss was going to keep it within a touchdown, and Georgia ended up beating them by 8. I think it's going to be like a backdoor cover for Georgia, is what kind of vibes this kind of gives me.
All right. Well, quickly zooming around the rest of the sports world for some headlines.
Is Drake May going to win MVP?
Well, if it's anything like Cal Raleigh, then no. That's don't even get me. I'm about to get myself
You
started on
started
that.
on it.
Unbelievable. Unacceptable. Aaron
You're gonna have
Judge plays the least valuable position in baseball. The only thing he can do is hit. He can't base run. Can't play defense. Cal Raleigh literally, you could argue he carried the Mariners a good portion of that season. Dude, switch hit dingers from both sides of the plate. I think he was a Gold Glove catcher.
he won Silver Slugger too.
It's sitting on the plate in front of you, and you still pick Judge.
This is a very heated topic. I find it very interesting.
Now, I completely understand Otani. Dude is a freaking unicorn. Unbelievable the things that man can do. It's also unbelievable watching a dude jack 450 from both sides of the plate.
Not to mention a top 3 catcher in the MLB, top 5 defensively.
Yeah, compared to someone who can't play defense. I mean, I swear, the Yankees baseball gloves just look like a hand. There's nothing right here because the ball keeps going through there.
Let me ask you a question because I saw this point made earlier and it interests me very much. Do you think if Judge doesn't get injured this year and they have to replace him with Giancarlo Stanton, who can barely move around, do you think if they don't replace Judge or Judge doesn't get injured this year, do you think he still wins it? Which means he has better numbers. Because it's an interesting point. Because I think having Stanton put in there made him look more valuable as a defender.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I think both of them have very similar defensive value. They're both pretty much the same build. Giancarlo Stanton's what 3 or 4 years older, so he's waking up every morning with severe lower back pain.
Well, Stanton's been extremely injured throughout his career, and they don't want to put him out here. That's why Stanton doesn't play anything but DH. And putting him at, I think they had him at right field was a disaster.
But in my opinion, this is on the same level, if not worse, than robbing Genty of the Heisman. Yeah, okay, that's all I'm gonna say on it. Back to Drake May.
Anyway,
He
Drake May gonna
may
win MVP.
he may win the MVP.
So, Drake May, first player in NFL history to have 2,500 pass yards, over 70% completion percentage, over 250 rush yards, 5 or fewer interceptions through 10 games. He has 8 consecutive games, not including tonight. Mind you, this is not including Thursday Night Football against the Jets. I have not included these stats in here. He had, going into the Jets game, 8 consecutive games with 100 passer rating. Pretty sure he balled out tonight. I think, and with the addition of Travion Henderson, I think the Pats as a whole are an incredibly talented team. Drake May does not flinch under pressure. You saw it tonight because you really got to watch him. Everyone got to see Drake May on the big stage in prime time. Drake doesn't flinch under pressure. He's making the right reads. He's got the guys. Vrabel and McDaniel have instilled a incredible culture with that team. He's the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. Drake May has, and he's 23. Like this guy looks like he is a 8-year vet, or I don't know about vet, but he looks like he's been playing for a while, and he's just completely balling out. And the Patriots got really good skill guys, but they're not top of the league. They're not Jefferson and Addison or Jamar and C. So I think this is incredibly impressive, and the Patriots as a whole moved to, what was it, 9-2 tonight? It's
Yes,
incredibly
I
impressive what
think
that team has done. Your thoughts on Drake May and the Pats as a whole?
I think Vrabel needs to get more credit than he is for the turnaround the Pats have. I think they are the team to beat in the AFC. I think they've replaced the Chiefs for that title, at least as of right now, and we'll have to see if they can officially knock them out in the playoffs. But he's doing, and the Patriots are doing this year what we thought the Bills were going to do. We thought the Bills were going to steamroll through everyone, and we saw them steamroll through a very easy early schedule, and now they've slipped up against some better teams. Not even better teams. The Falcons stink. It's still
The
laid
Dolphins.
a dookie there. They got blown out by Miami and Miami. Like, there's no excuse for some of these Bills losses, and yet we're seeing. And the scary thing is, a lot of these Patriot guys are on their rookie contracts.
Well, you look at this offensive line. It is wildly improved from last year. Will Campbell, and I forget the left guard's name, I'm sorry. I think it's Jared Wilson. Incredibly impressive. Just this Josh McDaniel in this offense has been incredibly impressive. Now, we can break down that game later. I think some of the game plan in the second half was not great. But in general, like, are the Pats doing it again? Did Robert Kraft have Tom Brady
He
cloned in 2002?
he got his white boy back.
And it's I don't know if you've seen Drake May's wife's TikTok. The comments under that.
Hysterical.
Make sure
Not
Drake
not
doesn't eat too much tonight. It's great, dude.
rub his belly after he has good digestion.
But just the Patriots as a whole, 9-2, best record in the AFC for now, if the Colts win this weekend. If the Colts lose this weekend, it'll be throughout the week.
Colts are on a
But
bye this weekend.
oh yeah, they are. So until further notice, Patriots have the best record in the AFC for now. Just incredibly impressive. They found another guy, and Drake 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 has been incredibly impressive, and doing this as a 23-year-old. And so you just look at this team, and you're like, who are you gonna take over them? Anyway, anything else on the Patriots in May?
No. Moving on to Brian Dable getting canned. What are your general thoughts on that?
I don't think it kind of needed to happen. I saw Dable has the worst winning percentage of a Giants coach that has coached 40 or 60 games. Giants are also in their sixth head coach in 9 years with Kafka. I think I'm saying that right. And some of the things the Giants have done are inexcusable. Blew 3 10-point leads in the second half on the road. And you now have Dart in concussion protocol for the fourth time this season. And he hasn't even played all 10 games. So sorry, Giants kind of lost all their steam after the Scadaboo injury. It kind of seemed like a broken-hearted team. They just didn't have a lot. They didn't have a lot to go with. And Dable was 11-33. I think Joe Schoen not getting fired either was atrocious because they've missed on so many draft picks. They've had opportunities. I think him winning Coach of the Year kind of prolonged his tenure. But any general thoughts before I drop a little something in here?
I think he was a great play caller. Offensively, what they were starting to do is scat and dart was starting to work. I couldn't agree with you more that the wind kind of got let out of their sails when Scat got injured, but I think we've talked about this a bunch. When he needed to be the head coach, I think that's where we saw the mistakes. Great play caller. I think he'd be a great offensive coordinator somewhere. I just don't know if he's built to be a head coach.
I mean, situationally, that team was a disaster at times, which is typically what you see in an interim coach. You've seen it a lot with all these interim coaches. Like I forget the Penn State coach's name, like Terry Smith or something, or some. You saw it with the LSU, You've seen it with Penn State. You've seen it with a lot of these interim coaches in college, and I think that's kind of what the Giants look like. I think situationally, the Giants were disasters sometimes. So let me drop this. Brian Dable was seen in a picture wearing a Penn State hoodie, looking very unhappy in the snow. Brian Dable to Penn State. I've seen some Penn State coaches, I went on some Penn State chat boards earlier, or whatever they're called. They kind of like it. That's a splash higher. His kids go there.
I
It wouldn't
think
be
I think it would be better if he went there as a OC and does something similar to what Bill O'Brien did, where he goes back. I think O'Brien was a OC after the Texans job before he took Boston College, right?
probably. He went to Ohio State for about a month and then left.
Oh, so that's what I was thinking of. But I think he should go and be the OC at Penn State and not the head coach. That way he doesn't have to deal with the full recruiting responsibilities. Um, and that way he can focus on the play calling, not have to deal with all the head coach stuff that he situationally wasn't the greatest with it. The Giants, like, what's going to be the difference between handling the situational stuff with the Giants and Penn State? The expectations
There's
are
not.
higher
It's
at
just an interesting thought.
the expectations are higher at Penn State than they were in New York. So if I was him, I wouldn't take the job. I mean, he'd probably make more money doing it, but ultimately, I think it's going to put a bigger stain on his record.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
ultimately, I think it's going to end up failing within the first 3 years.
We'll see. I don't think Penn State should hire him. Penn State wants a splash hire. I just don't think you're gonna get one. Penn State's not the top tier jobs in the country, so I just don't think Penn State's gonna get that splash hire they're looking for. And that would be good for the program.
So staying in the division, have you seen what's been going on with AJ Brown and his Twitter and comments?
I haven't seen anything the last couple weeks, but I know
So
it's
it
been going a little not great.
he's been unhappy is an understatement. I mean, making comments via live streams and then during post game pressers, and he said it's not just about his stats, which obviously aren't the greatest right now. But overall, it's about how this offense is performing and that they need to be able to better support the defense, which the Eagles' defense has been playing fairly well. Obviously, we saw that in the doozy of the Monday Night Football game if you're a big offense guy like I am. But, I mean, you look at his stats over the last 5 games that he's played in. The Green Bay game, he had 2 catches on 3 targets for 13 yards. The Minnesota game, 4 catches on 6 targets for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Giants game, the first Giants game they played, I think that's what it was. They played 2 Giants games. He only played in one of them. He had 6 catches on 9 targets for 80 yards. But it's for what we've seen from him over the past couple of years, those are extremely low numbers. He's got 2 touchdowns in the last handful of games, 5+ games beyond. But then the offense as a whole, 10 points against Green Bay, 38 points against the Giants, 28 points against Minnesota, and 17 against the Giants and 17 against Denver. Not the same Eagles offense we saw last year, where it was kind of just humming on all wheels, where you saw Saquon breaking off 75-yard touchdown run after 75-yard touchdown run. And so I think that he's right to an extent. I don't think this is how you go about trying to get changes to be made. I think there's other ways to be able to do that. But ultimately, I don't think that he's going to end up being here in Philly, actually, well, being there in Philly at the start of next season. So, general thoughts on that.
I don't know why. I forget, it was the second Giants game where their offense looked really, really good, and they were going under center a lot. And I just don't know what's not working. Like the run game's not working like it was last year. Obviously, I don't think Saquon was ever going to have as good of a year as he did last year. But the run game's not working. The pass game's not working. I think Patula's play calling has not been great. So, I mean, they won't keep him under center. I don't understand where the mindset is from an offensive perspective. I think Sirianni should maybe do what Campbell's doing with the offense and calling plays for a couple weeks to show Patullo what he wants to happen. I said Dan Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I said Dayball for a second. But I don't think AJ's going about it the right way, but this offense is not humming like it should. And we've seen it done. They have pretty much all the same pieces they did last year. I think they lost like one offensive lineman. But this offense should be humming better than it is. I don't know what's going on internally. I don't know if it's beef in the locker room. I don't know if it's just Patullo is bad at play calling. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not humming like it should. Everything feels hard for Philly's offense right now. I don't know why. I mean, I think the play calling's not there.
So they currently have the 7th worst pass offense in the league. They're bottom 3rd in the league in total yards per game. They do have the 12th best scoring offense. Just I think it was like 24.2 yards per game, but still significantly lower numbers than what we were expecting. And so ultimately, I think he's going to try and go somewhere where it's just very much a pass-heavy offense and try and get that flow of receptions and yards, be able to boost his numbers, try and get a bigger contract.
That's all I got.
Lastly, have you seen a team that is so polar opposite home and away as the New York Rangers? They are
I've seen
1-6-1 at 1-6-1 at home. They've been shut out 5 times at Madison Square Garden. They're averaging 1.5 goals per game, and they're on pace for one of the worst home performances in NHL history. If the current rate continues, they'll finish the season with 30 losses at home.
I
Yet on the road, they're 8-1-1 so far this season, and they just thrashed Tampa Bay 7-3 last night, I think is what it was.
I don't know. I think it was like 4-3 in the first period last night. Um,
Unbelievable. I watched that game expecting a goalie duel and got Swiss cheese.
yeah. I Is it time to start talking about Mike Sullivan?
Yes.
It
It,
just,
it
I thought it was gonna work a little bit better in New York. I thought it was just he needed a change of scenery type thing. But it's just everything is hard for them at home. And granted, they're above 500 right now, so they're all right. But and they'll still have a chance to make the playoffs. But you can't be this bad in your home building. It's. I would rather you be really bad on the road than really bad at home. Because your fans aren't going to want to come see games. You see this and you're like, well, why would I spend 90 to 120 bucks a ticket to just watch my team lose? I don't understand it. And it just all looks so hard. They can't score. Being shut out 5 times at home is utterly insane.
it left me speechless. I was looking up the stats for this, and I mean it's just I don't even know how. And you look at all the offensive weapons that they have. Like how is it statistically possible that you get shut out 5 times at home, yet you've put up 12 goals in your last 2 games?
I I'll be honest, I have not watched a lot of hockey this year. But the little bit I have watched of the Rangers, it just all looks incredibly too hard for them. And I got nothing. And this might be another year of New York missing the playoffs. I mean, they had they got gifted the number 1 pick in 2022, which is crazy. For one, I just I'm kind of in. I don't know what to say. I like, especially with the team with Shesterkin. I mean, you think Mike Sullivan would have like that team somewhat put together? You have Panarin, you have Lafreniere, who's a former number 1 pick. I believe you have Capo Caco on that team. Like, you have pieces on that team. I don't understand why it doesn't work, especially at home.
It beats me. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. We look forward to watching the handful of decent football games that are on this weekend, however that may be. But we hope to see you guys next week, and see you then.